Upadhyay. I'm going to talk on Sitecore PowerShell. Uh, I just wanted to give you a brief history of how I came to know about this module. A couple of years back, I was developing a Sitecore project, and we had this blog import. So a lot of data got imported into our Sitecore instance. Around 5,000 odd items were created, and after 1 month, when we realized that the 5,000 items got created, that is when we got to know that there's a change. We wanted to update all these items, and we started doing it manually, and I was given this tedious task of updating it manually, and I just thought that it's not possible for me to manually go through each of the 5,000 items and update these fields. So I started googling, like all of us, all developers. Whenever we are stuck, we go to Google and just try to know, like, is there any alternative to this? So that is when I came to know about this module, Sitecore PowerShell, and I I just wrote a script for 10 odd items. I didn't wanted to try it out for the whole set at once. So first I wanted to write the script for just a subset, 10 items, 5 items, and made sure that it is working. And after it worked, then I expanded and went about doing it for 100 items, and then I gradually progressed and updated all the 5,000 items. And the it saved me a lot of time. It saved me a lot of energy, hard work, because I didn't wanted to spend my days trying to update those manually. Yeah. So that is when I got to know about this PowerShell, and from then onwards, I tried exploring more and more. I got to know about the powers, and that is why I've also kept the name also powering up with Sitecore PowerShell, because there are a lot of things that we can do with Sitecore PowerShell. So I just it will be a brief session, and it will be just basics. I mean, from then on we can progress to like more and more. We can know more. Yeah. So this is me. I'm Sumit Upadhyay. I'm working as a technical lead at AI Enterprise. I am a Sitecore certified developer, certified in 8.2 as well as 9.1. 9.1 I just recently got certified. This is my LinkedIn profile, and this is personal blog where I share my knowledge. And this will be the agenda for today. We'll discuss on. I wanted to know how many of you have heard of or worked on Sitecore PowerShell. Okay, quite a number of you. That was my expected, I guess. How many of you have actually written a PowerShell script? Okay, so I guess you will be aware of. And for those who are not aware, I mean, this can be a good starter for getting to know more about Sitecore PowerShell. So I'll try to cover what is Sitecore PowerShell, the powers that it leverages, and the things that we can do with Sitecore PowerShell. Sitecore PowerShell versions, what are the versions available and how to install them. I won't be installing them as I've already installed it, but I can tell you from where you can download and install. How to access Sitecore PowerShell from Sitecore, like from where on in the launchpad or in the content tree, where all you can find Sitecore PowerShell. And then I'll talk about the general use cases where Sitecore PowerShell can be heavily used and to mitigate the tedious effort that I talked about. So all these areas we can cover. I'll just give a brief like scenarios where it can be used. I'll talk about ways of writing scripts. So yeah, I'll cover it while I'm there. I'll do a CRUD operation, create, read, update, delete with Sitecore PowerShell. So if you wanted to create an item, if you wanted to modify it, update it, maybe remove it. So I'll try to cover in this session. And then I'll talk about modules. Sitecore PowerShell has its own modules, and we can create them, and then we can build on it basically. And then at the end, I'll just share some resources from where we can get to know more about Sitecore PowerShell. So as most of you already are aware, Sitecore PowerShell is a module, and it needs to be installed as a Sitecore package. We can download it from the Sitecore marketplace. It is one of the most downloaded modules in the Sitecore marketplace. It drastically increased the productivity. So like I mentioned, this scenario where I have to update 5,000 odd items. This is just one scenario. There are tons of other scenarios that we can use PowerShell. Actually, SXA, if you are aware, it relies on Sitecore PowerShell. It's built on top of Sitecore PowerShell, and most of the task that goes under the hood, it's being done by the Sitecore PowerShell module. And yeah, the last but not the least point is no downtime. So suppose there's a task that you can do via writing a C# code. That particular task, you need to deploy the DLL, you need to deploy the config, and that leads to a downtime, maybe 5 minutes, maybe an hour, and then a little bit of a testing. So if we can do that particular task using Sitecore PowerShell through just one script and then just an execute button, then we don't need to require a downtime. We can just tell it to the client that we can execute it in the CM and then execute it, and the items will get updated, or whatever functionality we are creating, that will get updated, and we can see the changes in no time without downtime. Yeah. The next we come to Sitecore PowerShell versions. So actually, when I was preparing for this session, I installed Sitecore 9.2 in my machine, and then on top of it, actually this slide was not there in the beginning. It came because I faced an issue. I installed Sitecore PowerShell 5.0 on top of 9.2, and that is when I realized that there's a bug. It's not working, and we had this community module SPE under Sitecore Slack. So I just pinged the guy, why is it not working, and then I came to know that Sitecore 9.2 supports 5.1, so it doesn't work with 5.0. So that is why I thought that it is better to have this matrix. What on all versions are there, and what on all versions are compatible with the Sitecore versions. So mostly 4.7 and 5.0 works fine with anything less than 9.1. For 9.2, we require 5.1, and I guess in a few weeks or maybe months time, we will see Sitecore 6.0 also, Sitecore PowerShell 6.0, that is, where there are other changes. Now finding SPE. So this, the way I'll demo it, there won't be a demo section as such. I'll just go through this particular section and then hop over to my Sitecore content tree, and then like inline I'll just show it, I'll demo it. So how and where can I find my Sitecore PowerShell in my Sitecore content tree? Yeah, so this is my 9.2 instance. I have installed 5.1 already. I've downloaded, as I mentioned, I downloaded it from the marketplace and installed it as a normal Sitecore package would be. One of the places where this module can be found is in the launchpad itself, using this PowerShell ISE. If I just click on this one, I'll be able to see my last script. So this is the last script that got executed. This is an environment where I can write my scripts, and I will like to talk about the sections that are there. Using this, if I click on new, all these will get removed and a new window will appear where I can write the PowerShell script, the new one that I want. I can click on this open, where it will take me to something like this, the script library, and I can just choose a script, maybe content editor. So I don't have anything as of now. I can just choose an existing one, SPE, and that particular script will appear over here, and it will be at my disposal whether I want to modify it or just run it, and then on top of making those changes, I can save it again. So I can just select this one and then click on open, and then this particular script got open. Now if I wanted to play around with it, I can just modify it and change it. Then if I wanted to save it for future use, I can just click on save, or maybe save as, if I wanted to save it anywhere else in my Sitecore instance. Then using this execute button, I can just execute the script, and in the below section I can see the results if there are any. And Sitecore PowerShell also provides a debugging option like we have in Visual Studio. So I can just have these breakpoints over here. Sorry. Yeah, so I can just have this breakpoint and then click on debug instead of execute. Clicking execute will basically execute the like in Visual Studio we can execute our code without debugging. So execute does that, whereas debugging will enable me to stop the control and then check the values what are there. and then it runs under a specified context. It runs under an elevated session, as you can see. It requires higher privilege. A normal content author role won't suffice for the script to run. Language also we can choose. If we wanted to execute the script in suppose Danish or maybe German language, we can do that by choosing this option. Yeah, so this is about the option that I showed from the launchpad. Where are the other places where I can find Sitecore? I can just go to my desktop and click on this one. PowerShell console. I won't be clicking this one because I know that there is a bug in 5.1. Whenever I click on this one, it hangs. So I won't be clicking, but clicking this one, it will enable me the same PowerShell, Windows PowerShell that we have in our Windows machine. So we can write all the Windows related PowerShell and Sitecore related as well. PowerShell toolbox. Yeah, so these are pre-written scripts that are shipped along with the package itself. So these are not something that I have written, but these are available in all the versions. So suppose data management, I can click on this bulk data generator and it will give me this option. So suppose for testing purpose, I wanted to create 1,000 items or maybe 1 lakh items just to test. I can just uh, whether I wanted to create a user, whether I wanted to create an item, I can just choose one of the options and then click on next. Then it will give me the options, how many items I want to generate, what is the sample name that I wanted to provide, like sample 1, sample 2, sample 3, all those items will get created. Where I want the items to be generated, whether I want it under the home node or a specific folder that I desire so that it will be easier for me to delete in future. What template I want to use. Do I want to create under sample or maybe a user defined? All these things we can specify. Random tree structure I'm not sure about. I need to look at it. Okay, so I won't be creating anything as of now. I just wanted to show where and all we can find development tools. Also, we can see this PowerShell ISE. This is similar. This is actually the same that we saw in the Launchpad. And one of the more pronounced use cases of Sitecore PowerShell is generating reports. So this reporting tool, I'm sure you all must have seen this, but might not have got the chance to explore it. So by PowerShell reports, then content audit. So these are some of the functionalities that are provided out of the box. These are the scripts that I have not written. These are available when we install Sitecore PowerShell. So if I click on suppose broken links and I wanted to find out, there is another way of finding the broken links also from the control panel. But suppose from the content author perspective, that guy needed to know all the broken links or maybe items scheduled to archive. Maybe we have scheduled 100 items to be archived maybe a week from now. So from there we can just list out and get to know more about it. So using this, I can just specify my content and whether I wanted to check internal links, external link, I can just click on OK. Yeah, so there are no, since this is a blank installation, so there are no broken links as such. Okay. Let me move on to the next slide. So these are some of the locations where we can find Sitecore PowerShell and we can work. Yeah, general use cases. So these are the common scenarios where we can leverage Sitecore PowerShell. One of them being, like I mentioned, bulk data generator. We can create 1,000 items. We can modify those items. These are the common use cases. Assigning workflows. I feel this is also one of the common scenarios. Like generally, when we start a project, we go on about creating content, developing the code.
Duplicate this. Duplicate this. Windows P and duplicate.
Okay. Thank you. No?
Check. Amit, it's
Okay. So I was saying that assigning workflows is one of the common use cases. Like generally when we start the project, we don't think about workflows. We just start with the content and our code, and it is towards the fag end of the project when it is about to go live, maybe sprint, last sprint or maybe second last sprint, that workflow comes into the picture, and that is when we realize that all the items need to be in a particular workflow. So if we wanted to change the default workflow or maybe the workflow and then the workflow state, so all these things we can do using PowerShell. Generating reports, as I mentioned, like if you wanted to see how many broken link items are there or how many items which needs to be archived or scheduled to be deleted, removed, all those reports we can generate using this PowerShell. Uploading bulk media items, that is also similar to creating bulk items. If you wanted to create media items instead of a normal Sitecore item, that also will be possible. Automation using Sitecore scheduler, so that is also one of the cases. I will just quickly show. In my Sitecore tree itself, I just go to the content editor. In the system node, we have the tasks, and I'm sure most of us are aware of schedules, but in general cases we write a custom code and then just override the method so that our particular code will run in the specified time. But in the schedules, what I can do is I can just right click and insert a PowerShell script. So as I told, we can save our PowerShell script. So using the scheduler, I can give it a name, maybe SUG, and then choose a particular script that I want to run, execute at my specified time. So maybe for just sake of example, I can just choose this purge item libraries. Maybe I can just double click it and then click on create. Then it will give me a particular option: date the task should start, the date that it should stop running, days to run, hourly basis or maybe days basis, maybe minutes basis. Maybe there's a feed. Like I mentioned, we developed a custom feed. We imported all the data from that particular feed and then created Sitecore items based on that. So instead of writing that particular code, what we could have done, like thinking on hindsight, we could have written a PowerShell script to call that particular feed API and then get all the results, and then based on that create the Sitecore items. And since we wanted it to schedule, run hourly or maybe in a day's time, then we can just we could have leveraged Sitecore PowerShell for this. We can just added the scheduler, and so if that particular scenario was achieved, then no code was required, no downtime was required. So suppose like tomorrow the feed URL got changed from maybe JSON to XML. Just for the sake of example, we could have just updated our PowerShell script and then the change could have been achieved without any downtime. Okay. Yeah. Now the next bit, since like some of you have written PowerShell script, so I'm assuming that you would have used SPE commandlets. Sitecore PowerShell offers different commandlets that could be used for writing the scripts. But if you don't want to use the commandlets that are available, you could have used the C# style also. So I'll just show an example that I've written. Yeah. So I go to the PowerShell ISE, and from there I'll first of all I'll remove everything. I'll go to the plugins and go to the snippet. I'll talk about snippet when I'm covering the module section. So all the scripts that I've written for this particular session, I've saved it over here, SUG Bangalore, and this is my first script, C# versus SPE. So both of them are doing the same task, basically getting the Sitecore item. The first way that I've used is the C# way, like we do in normal Visual Studio. what we do is basically get the database, provide the database name. I'm just specifying the database name as master, storing it in DB variable, $DB. This is the way we declare variables in Sitecore PowerShell. And then I'm specifying database as my class. So I want this DB to be of database type. And then I'm getting the language from the next piece of code. I'm getting the English language and storing it in $language variable. And then I'm just getting the item like we do in normal C#. We just do database.get item and then provide the path and then the language. And then I'm storing the item in the item variable. I could have used, if I've not specified anything, then it would have automatically recognized it. And then I'm just displaying the fields. So let me just comment this out and execute it. The results of both these are actually same. So I'm just executing it, and each time I execute, I need to provide the my credentials since it is running in elevated session. It is giving me the title is actually experience platform. This is the default home item, so it is giving me just the value. If I wanted to display anything else, that is also possible. But the same thing can be achieved using lesser amount of code, and I'll say better optimized. So I can just yeah, and I'm using control / to comment and uncomment. So here also I'm doing the same thing. I'm just using this get item commandlet that is available to me. I'm specifying the path like I'm doing over here. I'm specifying the language path. These are parameters to this commandlet. Yeah. And I'm again storing it in $item. As you can see, I could have provided item over here as well. It would have yielded the same result. And I'm just displaying the title variable. So if I execute it again, I'll see no change. I hope it runs. C is not running. Oh, so this should be. So SPE way is not recognized by PowerShell. So it is giving me the same results, but as you can see, less amount of code and a better way. Get item is doing all the heavy lifting for me. I don't need to call everything. I just need to pass the parameters, and it will take care of it. I've just captured it over here. Next, we move on to creating items with SPE. So there I was doing get item. Here I'll use this new item commandlet for creating an item. So let me hop over to my Sitecore again. I'll just delete everything and then I'll go to the plugins and snippet. I'll go again to SUG Bangalore and then create items. This is the script that I have written. Now here there are two options. Actually there are multiple options, but I wanted to specify two options of creating the item. So let me just comment out line number 789. Yeah. So in this particular line, I'm getting the item path where I want to create it, and then it's a simple command actually. New item. I'm specifying that path. I could have directly specified it over here instead of saving it, but I just for the sake I have written it that way. And then I'm specifying the item type. Item type is nothing but the template based on which I want my new item to be created. So if I execute this, I would like to show first of all that there are no items created as of now. So under home we don't have any sample item as such. If I execute it, a new item will be created with the name and then with the ID. And if I just refresh this one, content, I can see that under home a sample item 1 will be created, and it is created based on the sample item template that I specified, as you can see sample item. Okay, it doesn't have anything. If I wanted, I would have populated it with the title and other things. Okay, and the other way that I wanted to show, actually, this is one of the powers of Sitecore. Usually, when we are creating items, we don't specify the ID of that item, right? But using PowerShell, actually, it gives us an option, force ID. So, if I wanted to create an item with a particular GUID, I can do that. So over here, what I'm doing is I'm getting the parent item using the get item commandlet, and I'm specifying the path, and then I'm storing the GUID that I want. So suppose I want a particular. I mean, this is not a general use case, but just I wanted to show one of the powers of Sitecore PowerShell. So I can specify the GUID, and then instead of providing the path, I can provide the parent node under which I want to create the item. So suppose I wanted to create under home, or maybe a folder of my choice. I could have provided that as my parent item, and then I can specify the name of the item that I want it to be created with, and the template item based on which the new item will be created. And then using this hash dash course ID, I'm specifying the actual ID of that item. So if I execute this, a new item sample item 2 that is, will be created with this particular ID. So if I go and refresh it, yeah, sample item 2, I can see that there's a mistake actually. But I can assure, sorry, it is created with the same item. I was seeing the template actually. So the item ID will be same, whatever I specified. So that is also one of the powers. Next, I'll move on to reading input from user. So I don't need to go to the slide. I can just simply go. I can go to the plugins, and I can choose my next script. Yeah, reading inputs. So suppose, like we saw in the bulk generator, if I wanted to take inputs from the author, like they wanted to create 10 items or maybe 15 items, so all those also is possible. So using this particular script, what I am doing is basically taking the input count, input template. So these are the default values that I'm providing. Yeah, and then I'm creating this array list item, and then using this read variable commandlet, I'm again passing these. So then I'm asking the user how many items we want to create, using which template you want to create the item, and under which item you want to create. So all these will go into result, and result will be basically having two options, OK and cancel. So if I click on OK, then only this particular set of commands or lines will be getting executed. Then I'm again taking the new item path, storing it in this variable, and then I'm taking the child item count. So if I've chosen 10, then I will run this for loop, index, and then current child count, and then I'm just I'm adding the items to the list, and then using this show list view, I'm displaying the results. So item will be getting created. I think it is, yeah, new item only. So using this show list view, I can just through a new dialog box, I can show the results of the new item that got created. So let me just execute this, and I can do this via debugging as well. So if I just click on debug, yeah, so the control stopped over here. Now I have to just press F10. If I wanted, I can just press F5 or maybe continue from here. Then this dialog box is getting opened. So here I can provide all the values. I'll just keep it myself and then just click on OK. So these items got created and a report got generated for this. Now if I wanted to share this report with anyone else, I can choose these options available to me. I can export it through ESV, CSV, Excel, HTML, JSON, XML, or maybe an email also. So I can just I can choose XML. I'm not sure why it's not working, but generally when this show list view opens up, uh, I can just click on this and a report will get downloaded, and then I can share it with anyone else. So suppose I wanted to know, I can modify this, tweak this script so that I can get like all the items that got created maybe today or maybe last 7 days. I can create a report something similar to this, and then move it to an Excel or CSV file, and then share it with other people, so that we can get to know exactly how many items got created or modified or any other change that we wanted. Uh, Next will be modifying items. Now modifying items is also very similar. There is not much change, to be honest. So let me just remove all this again and go to my plugins. Yeah. So modifying items is it's basically same, just that this function I'm calling. So over here I'm just storing the default input parent item in case the user is not providing any. This will be populated, and yeah, then this particular line will get executed, and from this particular line this recurse option will be available, and this for each object will call this particular function modify item fields. So basically what will happen is yeah, get child item. So if I'm specifying this input parent item, all the items underneath this will get created, will be accessed. All the child items will be accessed for this input parent paths and path, and it will be done recursively. It will store, and then for each of the items, it will call this modify items, and then I'm just writing this updated via PowerShell. So actually, I don't have any items as of now. So actually, it's a good thing. So let me just uh, create the items. Execute. Sorry. Think I'm going. Yeah. So this is reading items and as well as creating items. So let me just create it. Okay. This items was not found, that is why it is breaking, but no issues. I want to create under SUG only, and I want to create using this. Sorry, moving from. Yeah. So the items got created under SUG. So now, okay, I had already created. Okay, no issues. So let me just remove these. Go to the plugins. Yeah. So if I run this now, I hope no. So I will change this to SUG. Otherwise, it will break. Since I have all the items under SUG, yeah, and I will execute it. Content home SUG. Okay. No issues. Home. Yeah. So let me just. Yeah, I can provide this path. It's fine. Click on OK. And all the items got populated. Let me just verify it. Yeah, updated via PowerShell. So for each of the items, I'll be able to see that this text for the title got changed using this one. Next will be removing items. The removing item is very simple. I can just write this particular piece of code. I can just provide the item and then slash and then remove item 5. Yes, not slash. Sorry. So I have written a script for that as well. So let me just execute it. So this is the default path, but I don't want everything under home to be deleted. So I'll specify sample item 1. And sample item 1 got deleted. There were two sample items actually. Sample item 1, actually 3. So if I just refresh it, I'll see that there are 2 now. So this is how we remove it basically. 5 and then remove item. This is the command that we use. Okay. Now this is an interesting section, SPE modules. Like I mentioned, I'll show you how and where. So you might be wondering, how come my snippets show up over there as SUG Bangalore? So yeah, so this is actually nothing but over here under system we have these modules, and under modules we have something called PowerShell, and under PowerShell we have snippets. So what I did was basically under snippets create one more item called SUG Bangalore and then put all my scripts over here. So the C# versus SPE script that you saw, it's actually written over here and I've saved it. So all the other scripts are also over here. Now if we wanted to build something similar to this one, SPE and then SUG like I have created, what we need to do is, it's very simple actually. Under new, I can choose new module. No, I don't want to save my changes. And then these are called the integration points. So integration points are nothing but where it will be present in my Sitecore. So if I choose content editor context menu, it will show up in the item itself. So let me just go over here. Under each item, if you right click, there is something called scripts. Yeah, scripts. Under scripts, we have these options: author statistics, layout, packaging, publish my items, author activity. So suppose I create a module using this particular option. So let me just name this as, and if I choose this option, okay. So now what will happen is, over here there will be another module getting added, SUG demo, and as of now it's just creating this dummy item, context menu. Now on top of this one, if I add a script, maybe a PowerShell script, and maybe I call it as a demo, then I can write the script over here. Again, I need to specify the credentials, but I don't want to write the script as such. I just want to show that if I go to scripts now, and then I can see this demo item getting created. So if I want my author to have this particular functionality, there's something like this options that we have: creating package, packaging, create package. So something similar, maybe particular to our needs, to our project needs. If we want an author to have a little bit of flexibility, we can add something like this and then just show it. Yeah. Yeah. That is pretty much it. Actually, I wanted to cover a little more, but I'll go to the resource section. So these are some of the resources that I use for learning Sitecore PowerShell, and it can be really used for knowing a little more also. So docs.sitecorepowershell.com, it's actually kind of a book where all the information about Sitecore PowerShell is provided, and it is very like frequently updated. So the details are very relevant. Then there's a Slack channel called module-SPE where all the discussions related to Sitecore PowerShell happens. So if like in my case I was facing an issue with 9.2 and 5.0 version, I added the comment there and I just got the reply. Then there's a GitHub resource, PowerShell console. All the details of the PowerShell scripts are available there. And then there's a YouTube channel as well for PowerShell as a whole. So that is pretty much it from me. Any questions? Yeah.
Suppose we have a PowerShell script and we want to schedule the script at some interval of time daily.
Yeah.
That time session state, how it will be handled? Because if you are manually triggering a class for password, if it is scheduled, how you will pass the credential?
I guess the same way like our C# code when we are deploying it, when we are passing the overriding the code and deploying it into our environment, the same way. That time sessions won't be handled because the in the task manager and the task scheduler is specifying the script. So that is where I think I've not tried it myself to schedule it and test it out, but I feel it will run in the same way. Is there any more questions?